Good day, everyone. So our report is through video na lang po, and it is suggested by Ma'am Venus de los Reyes, and we will going to discuss about the global demography. So here's our objectives. Number one, understand the population dynamics and global trends. Number two, recognize consequences and strategies for population control. And number three, comprehend feminist principles and theories. Number four, appreciate reproductive rights and challenges. And to discuss what is the global demography, it is reported by Nina Rica.
Global demography refers to the size, distribution, and composition of world's population, including death rates, birth rates, migration, and age distribution. So, global demography is the entire human population, including na si mga namayapa na and si buhay pa, and or si mga nag-migrate. Yan. For example, pirang percent ba ng human population, ng entire human population, ang namayapa na, or pirang percent ba ng entire human population ang buhay pa, or pirang percent ba ng human population ang 18 to 21 years old, like that. So, okay. Global demography, it examines how demographic trends influenced by various social, economic, and environmental factors on the global scale. Okay, so next slide. Demographers to know the levels and trends in populations, size, and its components. They use census, birth and death records, survey, or visa record para ma-determine kung ang paglago kang sa tuyang population. Yan. So, nagagamit sila ng mga census, itong mga nagkakadar ng data, nagdidigdi sa, nagbabahay-bahay, kasi nakato itong inapod na nagsisensus.
So, good day everyone, I am Diane Torres and I will discuss the tool of demography. First tool in demography is count. It refers to the absolute number of a population or any demographic event occurring in a specified era in a specified time period. For example, 1,200,500 live births occurred in Japan in 1977. The raw quantities of demographic events are the basis of all other statistical refinements and analysis. So, ang counts po is ito po yung eksaktong bilang ng tao sa isang lugar or isang lungsod. Next is rate. The frequency of demographic events in a population during a specific time period, usually a year, divided by the population at risk of the event occurring during that time period. Rates tell how common it is for a given event to occur. For example, in 1997, in Papua New Guinea, there were 34 live births per 1,000 population. Most rates are expressed per 1,000 population. So, rate, yan yung bilang ng kung ilang tao yung, for example, kung ilan yung namatay sa Pilipinas taong 2020, kung ilan yung nagka-COVID-19 noong 2020, at ilan din yung namatay. Next is ratio. The relation of one population subgroup to the total population or to another subgroup, that is one subgroup divided by another. For example, the sex ratio in Iran in 1996 was 103 males and per 100 females. So, ang ratio ay isang konsepto na tumutukoy sa pagsusuri sa dalawang kantidad o ang sukat. Ginagamit ito upang maipakita ang relasyon sa pagitan ng dalawang bagay. Next is the proportion. The relation of population subgroup to the entire population, that is a population subgroup divided by the entire population. For example, the proportion of Malaysia's population classified as urban was 0.57 or 57%. So, ang proportion ay ang pagkakawing ng pagitan ng dalawang o higit pang mga kantidad o sukat o dimension. Next is constant, an unchanging arbitrary number by which rates, ratio, or proportions can be multiplied to express these measures in a more understandable fashion. Ang constant naman ay isang halaga o kantidad na hindi nagbabago o nanatiling pareho sa loob ng isang partikular na konsepto o sitwasyon. Next is cohort measure. Statistic about measures events occurring to a cohort, a group of people sharing a common demographic experience were observed through time. The most common used cohort is the birth cohorts, people born in the same year or period. Other kinds of cohorts include marriage cohorts and school class cohorts. Cohort measure naman ay paraan ng pagsukat at pag-aaral ng mga trend, pagbabago o epekto sa isang partikular na grupo. Grupo ng mga individual o bagay na may katulad, katangian o karanasan sa loob ng isang partikular na panahon. And last is the period measure, a statistic that measures events occurring to all part or part of a population during one period of time. The measure takes a snapshot of a population in effect. For example, the death rate or the entire Canadian population in 1997 was 7 per 1,000. Ang period measure naman ay ginagamit upang sukatin ang mga pagbabago o trend sa loob ng isang tiyak na oras tulad ng isang buwan, pera, taon o dekada.
Global demography is, meron siyang 5 demographic processes, which is the fertility, mortality, marriage, migration, and social mobility. So, first, fertility. So, when we say fertility, it is the number or the increase of live births per year or per quarter or per month. Sa demographic data kasi, kinukuha dyan ang mga anak or ang mga batang isinisilang. Dyan sa purok ninyo, hindi nyo lang alam, ang mga barangay captain dyan is gumagawa or bising-bising mag-measure ng demographic data sa inyong barangay. Ibig sabihin, nagsaservice sila kung ilan ang mga bagong panganak dyan sa inyong barangay. And kasi kailangan yan sa census and kailangan yan na ma-record kumbaga sa kanilang demographic data. Kasi meron yung mga fini-fill out na mga forms dyan and that will be submitted on the PSA or the Philippine Statistic Authority. So dyan sa fertility is may tinatawag tayo dyang fecundity, F-E-C-U-N-D-I-T-Y. So ang fecundity, it is the numbers of times ang babae pwedeng manganak na sa isang taon. So that is the fecundity. So kasi sa isang taon, pwedeng manganak ang babae ng 2 beses. So, taano man 2 beses, di ba, dapat saro lang. So, no, take notes, we have 12 months in the year. Halimbawa, ang babae is nag-aki siya in January and then nabalos naman siya by February or March. So, there are a possibility na mag-aki girara siya in December. So yan, kung ang babae is sa isang taon is so fertile, so pwede talagang pwede siyang mag-aki ng 2 beses sa sarong taon. Kapag sige-siging run out. Kaya baga sa Pilipinas, kada purok may bados. Dahil yan mawawara. So next naman is the mortality. So kung sa fertility is the increase or the numbers of live births, sa mortality naman it is the numbers or the increase or the status of the death rate. So that is the mortality. Kung ilan ang namamatay sa isang taon, sa per quarter. So that is the mortality rate. And then kung sa fertility is minimeasured ang pagkabuhay ng mga tao, sa mortality naman is minimeasured ang mga namamatay. So next, another demographic process is marriage. So paano naman nakaka-apekto ang marriage sa demographic data? So of course, kapag kinasal kayo, magkakaroon na kayo ng pamilya. And then dadagdag ng inyong anak sa population natin. And then sa marriage is it can contribute sa demographic data because one of the essence or one of the importance of having family is to have a child, all children. So makakakreita kayo ng family and then yung nakuin ninyong family will add to the demographic data. Kaya it affects or one of the factors or one of the process of the demographic data. Next is migration. So one of the factors of demographic process is the migration. So halimbawa, mas maraming tao ang pumupunta sa ibang lugar or naninirahan. So that is called migration. So kung Pilipino ka, gusto mo magpaibang bansa, sumamigrate ka. And then the call na mga tao ang nagmamigrate because maybe or siguro because of standard of living or the quality of life. So pumupunta sila sa mga bansang magagandang bansa like Canada, Australia. So yeah, and para mamuhay sila doon ng maganda. So next is social mobility. So from the word social, it is pertains to people, and then mobility is paggalaw. So the social mobility, it is the paggalaw ng status ng tao. So anong ibig sabihin kang status na yan? Status kang tao. So kung ang status ng tao is from 0 to 15 or dependent na ba yan? And then pag 15 to 28 is kung nagtatrabaho na ba yan? And then kapag naglangkupan sa endang edad, ano na ang status nila kagyan? Mabago na naman. So it means may movement ang status. Example, halimbawa, yumaman ka ngunyan, and then nawaraan ka ng income, nawaraan ka ng trabaho. So ganyan. So saro siya sa demographic processes or sa demographic data kasi yung social status ng people or the mass na mini-measure is nakaka-apekto sa economic growth.
A pleasant day, everyone. First of all, may I introduce myself. I am Janeline Tercero, your reporter about demographic cycle world history. So it is suggests that every nation passes through a demographic cycle. What is demographic cycle? It is a concept in population studies that explain how a country's population changes over time. Also, it is developed economically and socially. So ito daw ay isang studies kung paano masusukat ang pag-develop ng population sa isang bansa. The demographic cycle world history, it is divided into 5 stages, which is high stationary stage, early expanding, late expanding, low stationary, and the last one is declining stage. So the first stage is a high stationary stage. High stationary stage, it explained that there is no changes in population in one country. Because makikita nyo dito ang high birth rate and high death rate. So parehas lang sila high. So, sabi daw dito, this occurs that the birth rate and death rates are both high. So, parehas daw mataas or high average ang namamatay at napapanganak sa stage na ito. The third is they nullify each other effect. So, the both birth rates and death rates are very high, so they are balanced to each other. The fourth one is no change in size of population. So, wala daw itong pagbabago sa like for example, the country of India. So, paano nag-involve ang India sa high stationary stage kung walang pagbabago ang size ng population dito? So, na-involve ang India sa high stationary stage because based sa high death rates, dahil alam naman nating lahat na ang India ay walang malinis na bagay, damit, especially sa mga pagkain. Naalala nyo yung sumikat sa internet, yung mekos-mekos nyo na insan. Diba? Wala silang mga gamit na gloves, hairnet, and apron. So, sobrang dumi ng pagkakagawa nila ng mga pagkain like juice. If you can watch some clip, we can say that it is not safe for the health of others, for the health of everyone, especially sa mga bata, diba? Makikita natin baka sa mga mukha nila ang pagkagutom at pagkahirap. Based naman sa high birth rates, well, we all know that the India is a very high population, diba? Sobrang dami ng population, lalo na yung mga kabataan na nagugutom, diba? Makikita natin sa some video clips sa Facebook or sa TikTok, nakikita natin maraming bata na nagugutom, diba? Kapag may dumadating na ibang muka sa kanila, lalapit sila agad at hihingi ng pera or pagkain like that. Because they didn't know how family planning or hindi nila nakokontrol ang population rate nila. So, the second stage is early expansion stage. So, dito naman, ang birth rate remains the same and the death rate decreases. So, some increase in population. So, dito daw, tumataas ang population nila dahil ang death rates ay bumababa. The example countries is South Asia and Africa. So, bakit daw tumataas ang population sa early expansion stage? Because death rates begin to fall due to improvement to healthcare, sanitation, and food supply. But the birth rate remain the same. So, ang Ang namamatay daw dito ay bumababa dahil sa improvement ng healthcare, sanitation, and food supply. Okay, we move on about late expansion stage or the third stage. The birth rate increases and the death rate decreases. So, ang birth rate dito ay tumataas at ang death rate ay bumababa. Bakit tumataas ang birth rate at ang death rate ay bumababa? Because the birth rate starts to increase due to better education, urbanization, family planning, while death rates remain low. So, maganda daw dito ang education, urbanization, at may family planning sila, kaya tumataas ang birth rate nila at bumababa ang rate ng death rate. Kung sa early expanding stage, ang birth rate ay remain the same at ang death rate ay bumababa or decreasing. The late expansion stage naman, ang birth rate ay increases and the death rate ay decreases. The some example are India, China, Singapore, because the death rate are decreases because they have a good healthcare, medicine, so that the nutrition of population are better. So the first stage naman is a low stationary stage. Sa low stationary stage, we have low birth rate at low death rate. So parehas daw dito, low ang birth rate at death rate. So it is balanced. They also nullify to each other effect. So it is balanced to each other. So equal lang daw ang birth rate at death rate dito. No change in size of population. So parehas lang siya sa high stationary stage, but dito low stationary stage siya. Kung mababa ang death rate, mababa daw din ang birth rate. The most example of this low stationary stage are the most developed country like Sweden and Denmark are experiencing these stages. So the last stage is declining stage or the fifth stage. Dito naman daw, ang birth rate are lower than death rate. So, mas mababa ang mga napapanganak kaysa namamatay. Kaya, nagiging negative growth in population. Syempre, kapag wala naman napapanganak masyado, syempre, wala naman masyadong population sa bansang ito. The most example countries is Germany and Hungary. Diba, ang population ng Germany at Hungary ay mababa lang because naniniwala sila na gastos lang daw ang pagpapalaki ng anak. Also, sa bansa daw na ito ay mas maraming matanda kaysa sa mga bata. Dahil mas iniisip nila ang future nila kaysa sa pagpapalaki ng mga anak. So, I explained the 5 stages of demographic cycle. The first stage is high stationary stage. Ang birth rate at ang death rates dito ay parehas mataas. Than the low stationary stage, ang birth rate dito at ang death rate ay parehas na mababa. So, ang early expanding naman, sa early expanding, remain the same daw ang birth rate, but the death rate ay mababa. The late expanding naman, mas mataas ang birth rate kaysa sa death rate. So, mababa ang death rate sa late expanding. So, the last one is declining stage. Mas mababa din ang birth rate kaysa sa death rate.
So now we proceed the perils of overpopulation. So what is the perils of overpopulation? So sabi dyan, the development planners see urbanization and industrialization as indicators of developing society. So these two processes, which is the urbanization and industrialization, is nagdudulot siya ng pagbabago sa structure ng society, which is the urbanization is the movement of people from the rural to urban centers, while the industrialization is pagpalit ng the traditional methods of production to mechanized based factory process. And this too is connected sa pag-angat ng economy and industry, and also kan technology and buhay or pagbabago ng pamumuhay ng mga tao. So, kapag lumalaki ang population sa isang area, meron siyang negative and positive effects. Because Dakol ang nagsasabi na ang overpopulation is mahalaga sa modernization because Dakol ang pwedeng maging workers or pwedeng sumali sa mga workforce, and nakakatabang siya sa paglago ng industry and economy. And also, it can contribute to the greater innovation na mag-share ng ideas, invention, because dakol na nga ang pool ng mga tao. However, may mga nagsasabi man na ang overpopulation is sarong problema sa modernization because magdudulot siya ng kakulangan sa trabaho, can cause poverty, and aside that, it can damage to our environment, which means it can result pollution or pagkawara kan sa tuyang mga biodiversity. So now, if area is overpopulated, ina-assume ng mga theorists, arog ni Thomas Malthus na if the population is increased, the food supply will inevitably exhaust, which means dakol na ang nangangaipon ng pagkakan or the food supply. Therefore, the food supply will inevitably lessen. Why? Kasi dumarami na nga ang naghihirap, dumarami na ang tao, dumarami na ang nagugutom. So that kumukunti ang food supply. And Kipol or Erich and his wife Anaman na nagsurat kang the population bomb or the population is like a bomb because nasasabi duman sa surat ninda ang mga babala tungkol sa magiging dilubyo kang sobrang populasyon kasarong lugar in the 1970s and 1980s and will bring the environmental disasters and it can lead to turn to food shortage and mass starvation which means kakulangan sa pagkakan and also it can cause sa environment like pollution and pagkawala kan sa tuyong mga ecosystems. And now, after the World War II, the population growth rate was highest between 1955 and 1977 because nations that time is recovering from devastations of the World War II. So the growth rate is tumaas siya ng 1.8% kada taon mula nung 1955 hanggang 1975 and umabot pa siya ng 2.06% sa pagitan kang taong 1965 and 1975. So, lumaki talaga ang population that time. And in the mid-20th century, countries like Philippines, China, and India is sought to the lower birth rate. So these three countries, gusto nilang mababaan ang birth rates. Kasi nga, they believe na when the population is uncontrolled or magre-result siya in crisis in resources, can cause the widespread poverty and hunger and also the political instability. And actually, the China and India is one of the most populated country and ang Philippines is belong lang siya sa upper half of the country that has very high population. But these three countries, ito sabi tang gusto nilang mababaan ang birth rate. So nagsusot sinda sa lower birth rate. And as early 1958, the American Policy Journal Foreign Affairs is nagkaigwanin advocacy na contraception is sterilization which is paraan siya para ma-prevent or maiwasan ang pagbabados because instead na ipalaglag ang aki, they instead advocates contraception to prevent pregnancies from happenings and they have access to reproductive technologies para to prevent pregnancies such as pills, condoms, abortion, and a vasectomy. And ang vasectomy po is firm siya kang male birth control na pinuputol ang supply of sperm to the semen and it is through surgery. And so other countries, even in the US, medyo advancing da because tinatawan nila ang mga babae in rights to choose whether to have children or not because in the olden times, mga lalaki ang nagdedesisyon if they want to have children or not because hindi lang daang nagsusuporta. Then, during these times, in 1960s, nagkaigwan na rights ang mga babae to choose to pumili if they are going to have children or not. And syempre, ginigibo lang nila ini because to control the population because developing countries is have certain priorities. Priority nindang malesen ang taong nagugutom, taong mahirap, and they want to provide jobs for all these people. Therefore, they need to control the population. So we have here the critics from Malthusian theory, which is it's the economy, not the babies. Sabi dyan, the population growth can be beneficial for economic development, lalo na ka 1960 because ka 1960, dakol na mga bansa ang nagkaigwanin rapid population growth. And because of that, dakol na tao ang nagkaigwanin trabaho and it can lead to a surge in the workforce, which is turned to a fueled economic expansion. However, sa perspective ni Betsy Hartman, na criticize na that the use of population control is bako siyang solution for economic problem because instead of focusing population control, ang gusto ni Hartman is addressing the social injustices by promoting land reform, creating jobs and providing better access for education and healthcare, because in that way mas magiging patas daw ang lipunan and lead to a sustainable economic growth. Also, in 1960s, marami rin ang nagpo-point out na yes, the population did grow fast in many countries, at nahihiling din na ang population growth as a positive force for economic development. Sinasabi ninda na kapag maraming tao, the more na marami ring manggagawa. Sa biyuntang sa China na super high ang population ninda, and because of that, they had a lot of laborers. Dahil sa marami silang laborers, dakol ang pumupuntang mga investors sa China. So, to have the people there to create their product, because kasi nga their labor is cheap, and may mga sabi-sabi mga kita na everything else is made from China, because dakol kitang mga gamit na hali sa China na made of China, like such as cell phone, laptop, charger, and etc. So that in that way, it's made the economy of China grow dahil sa population nila. Kaya nasabi ang it's the economy, not the babies. So next, the women and reproductive rights. So mga babae kasi, they have the capability na magpadami ng population. Why? Because sindama lang ang nagbabadas, baka man ang lalaki is actually women. Therefore, some governments supports the arguments na population control should be controlled by women, kasi sindama lang ang nagbabados. So ang mga babae ang dapat na mag-control. And by giving women choice kung babadusin ka or dai, they're also given a choice na i-pursue kung ano ang gusto nilang trabaho, their vocations, their economics, their social or political na sasalihan nila. And one of the countries that support is the Philippines and United States. Diba? Igwa na kita ng equal rights between men and women. Because of that, they will be given a choice whether or not to pursue their careers or kung magkakaigwa man sindan min baby. Igwa din naman ng mga countries na pinapalakas nila ang reproductive health laws, including abortion. And saro siyang law na to control or access the contraception and the fertility control, and mag-decide kung kailan at kung gaano karaming anak ang gusto nilang magkaroon. And ginagibo nila yan in order to sustain growth and to give women the power of choice. And 73% of governments allow abortion upon the mother's request. So, meron din naman talagang mga governments na nag-a-allow ng abortion if women get pregnant, para lang naman to give the women the choice whether they want a baby or not, and to control the population of a certain country, like for example sa Argentina and Brazil. So, sa inda, legal ang abortion. But in special cases, like sa rape cases. And also, sabi pa dyan, the more educated a woman is, the better it's for her to improve the economic position. Because kung igwa siyang choice sa mga bagay-bagay, ay kang pagbabados, mas dakula ang chance niya na economically or emotionally stable siya, instead of forcibly being reduced to taking of their children. And more countries are also implement the reproductive health laws because they worry about the health of the mother. And then, kung 1960, ang bansang Bolivia is ang taas-taas ng kanilang fertility rate. Umabot ng 6.7. Ibig sabihin, sa bansang ini, kadakol ang nagbabados. And saro din ang bansang ini sa nagsasuffer ng poverty. So that eventually, ang mga nangyayari is some of them chooses the option of unsafe abortion. Yung mga pangyayaring ipinalalaglag nila ang kanilang anak sa mga tagutagong lugar or iinom ng mga gamot para lang maipalaglag ang kanilang anak na nasa kanilang tiyan. And this and sa pangyayaring ini, nagiging na ring mortality rates, which is dakol din ang mga mothers ang nawawaraan ng buhay or ang nagagadan because of that. And sa mga issue na ini, ang bansang Bolivia actually had their fertility decline, which is an expanding ang reproductive health laws. A similar pattern occurred in Ghana, and then nag-result sa fertility decline, which is nag-decrease ang population, and it is started in 2008. Even the same thing sa nangyari sa Ghana. So what they did is they just imposed the health reproductive law to what? To give the women the power of choice. So yan sinasabi tang reproductive health laws, some people or some countries are against of it. Kasi sinasabi nila that it is a full front for abortion and danger to the life of the mothers, and it is should be banned because there are some countries like Philippines or even Muslim countries in the Middle East that do not condone the abortion, or there's hindi nagtutugot na ano ang abortion kasi nga there's a value in life that based on the Quran sa Muslim or even in the Bible, we should not take life, and we should not take life in the process of abortion because we are already taking a life that has already formed inside the stomach.
Hello again, everyone. So, I will discuss the feminist perspective. So, feminist perspective is a way of looking at the world that recognizes and challenges the inequalities and injustice faced by women. It's about understanding how gender shapes our experiences, opportunities, and power in society. So, sinasabi dito na ang mga kababaihan o feminist ay may ibang pananaw sa reproductive rights. Una sa lahat ay laban sila sa anumang uri ng pagkontrol ng populasyon dahil ito daw ay gumagamit ng carrot at stick o ang pagpaparusa at ganipala na natabunan ng kanilang karapatan. At naniniwala rin sila na mali ang pag-aakala ng gobyerno na ang kahirapan at pagkasira ng kapaligiran ay dahil sa sobrang populasyon.